Hello, friends, and welcome back to I Don't Work Here, Lady. Today we have a couple more great stories, and the first of them is from the motorcycle repair workshop. Stormed out after quitting a job I never had. This happened to me yesterday, and I can't not share it because it's absolutely hilarious. I was recently hired in a smallish motorcycle garage/workshop just under 3 weeks ago as a mechanic. Yet what I tend to do most of the time is errands for the other people that work there, as I'm new and I'm not going to complain. Normally it's organizing bolts, tidying tools up, sweeping, or grabbing food on lunch for everyone. They chip in cash-wise for it, obviously. Just before lunch, myself and one of my colleagues managed to bend a breaker bar, a large bar designed to increase torque on a nut or bolt to make stiff bolts easier to loosen, and therefore need to replace it. I take the company card, as it's a company expense, take everyone's money, and head into town to do some light shopping. Thankfully, we're situated about a 5-minute walk from a Halfords, a British store for bicycles, car parts, tools, etc., and there's a small coffee shop opposite. The work uniform we have is essentially just black overalls, and I personally put a hoodie over the top half of it, as it can get quite cold this time of year. This makes me look very similar to the uniform that's worn in the Halford shop. I turn up and head to the tools section to find a breaker bar easily enough. They're quite large, so it's hard to miss them. While I'm there, I have a general browse at a few other things in the shop, and an employee asks if I need a hand. I'm juiced up on coffee and reading the back of an alarmed padlock box when they speak, and it made me jump. I smack my head on the shelf above and knock some things off the shelf. Nothing heavy or delicate, thankfully, just a few pairs of heated gloves and some tubs of glue. Apologizing and laughing about it, I assist the worker in placing everything back on the shelf when a buzzer goes off and he says he has to head to the office. He thanked me for helping restock the shelf. Just as I finish restacking the shelf and picking up the item I was looking for, a man walks in with a toolbox that the place sells and comes up to me, kicking and screaming that he lost part of it or something. I honestly wasn't paying attention to what he was saying. I attempted to explain that I don't work here, and he simply pointed at my legs, presuming they're trousers, not overalls, and called me a liar, and said that if I don't replace what he lost, he would fire me on the spot. The worker who'd headed to the office arrived back at the end of the aisle about this time and asked if there was anything he could help with. Me, having spotted his name tag beforehand, told him by name that I've got this. Turning back to the clearly irritated gentleman, I told him that he can't fire me because I quit. I placed the items I was holding on top of the toolbox straddled across his arms and storm off, being careful not to turn and show the massive grin on my face. Out the doors I went and off to the coffee shop before returning to work, having completely forgotten to return and buy the breaker bar. I told them the story, and another colleague walked over and bought it himself with the card. Really lightened the mood of a cold, dirty workshop for the day. Karen has a freak out at Walmart. This I will never forget. I used to work at my local Walmart, but I only worked there for 3 months. Then I quit because I couldn't work the schedule I was on. I worked the graveyard shift, which means I worked from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Fun. I quit because I would sleep all day and be up all night and have no time for family or friends. And I couldn't do that, nor was I able to switch to the day shift since there were no openings on the day shift. About 3 weeks after me quitting, I returned to do some shopping and to return my vest and name tag. I was standing at customer service, waiting for the general manager to come get the vest and tag. As I was waiting, this woman, aka Karen, walks up to me and crossed her arms and snarled at me. Me. Can I help you? Karen. Yes, I've been waiting for you to stop talking for nearly half an hour. Me. I've been here for 5 minutes. What do you want? Karen. I need help. I want to buy a TV, but I can't carry it. Me. I don't work here, lady. The customer service girl held in a giggle as she tried to calm down Karen. Yes, you do. You work here. I just saw you the other day working here. Me. I quit like 3 weeks ago. I no longer work here. If you want help, how about you lose the crappy Karen attitude of yours and nicely ask for help before demanding someone? No wonder people think you're a bee. We had problems with her multiple times. Karen goes on and on about how she's going to get me fired for this and how she knows the general manager. Me. Go ahead. I don't care. I don't work here. So I put the name tag and vest on the counter and did my shopping. General manager comes up and fist bumps me as it was our way of saying hey to each other. He tells me what Karen said and laughed. GM. I swear that woman is crazy. I tried to tell her you don't work here. Me. That's what I told her. GM. Don't worry, if she does anything, she'll be banned. I finished up my shopping, and what do you know? Karen slapped the general manager for being so inconsiderate of her being assaulted by me. I didn't even put my hands on her. And the next thing she knew, she was banned and arrested for attacking the elderly. The general manager's 86 years old. I couldn't do that, even if I did work here. Well, I was reading some of the all-time top posts, and one reminded me of this instance. Comments were turned off, so I figured I'd make my own post. So I was working for a Midwestern grocery chain. I had a car loan, so I'd also taken a job at a local gas station. Well, I got my loan paid off, and I was sick of the grocery store, and the gas station paid more, so I put in my 2 weeks. My 2 weeks was up on a Thursday, but my mom, who also worked at this location, was battling cancer and had an appointment on Friday. So I came in one last time to cover her shift. For this shift, I was out watering plants in the garden center, and I tripped over something and broke my arm. I came in for something 2 days later for some reason, and one of the cashiers told me I really needed to look at the schedule. In confusion, I told her, "But I don't work here anymore," to which she responded, "Exactly." So I took a peek, and not only was I down for the next 2 weeks, most of these were for truck. So I approached HR like, "WTF?" Their response was, "Well, we need you." Like, lady, even if I did work here, I just broke my arm working here. I'm first of all not cleared to go back to work until I get my cast. My arm was still in a sling at that point. Even if I was cleared, there's no way I could possibly do truck with a broken arm. She said she expected to see me for my next shift. Spoiler alert, she didn't see me for my next shift. She ended up getting fired for doing things like this and only hiring all her shady friends. Sergeant Manager. Just found this sub and read through a lot of great stories. When I was in college, I worked part-time as a Pepsi merchandiser running a weekend route to a couple Walmarts. I can't even count the number of times I was mistaken for an employee, but I never ran into a huge issue with a customer going crazy on me. There was one incident, however, that I think is appropriate to share here, even though it's a bit outside of the norm. First, just to give some general background info on the story, let me explain a few things. I worked from 5 p.m. till I was done with the route, which had 3 Walmarts. I could be done as early as 10 p.m. or as late as 3 a.m. The area I live is a rarity where Pepsi and Pepsi products don't outsell others, they dwarf them. In the stockroom, you can find 3 to 5 times the amount of Pepsi products compared to Coke or the other major group here, Sundrop. They distribute 7-Up as well. Because of this, Pepsi was the only company to have a second shift merchandiser. The second Walmart on my route was the busiest store in the entire region. They had a tendency to run through managers in the back room, so I'd see a new one every couple months. Sergeant Manager was one of these new faces. He was fresh out of the Marines and used to military efficiency and command. This didn't mesh well with the grocery crew that worked there. Unfortunately for me, I happened to be working when he received his first truck. Sergeant Manager promptly organized the very unhappy employees in a line, each with a pallet jack, and told them they would go on the trailer, receive a pallet, and take it to its proper area. The normal procedure was to have the most senior employee use a power jack to quickly unload the truck and have the others take their pallets from the floor. Sergeant Major didn't like them idling around, so he changed things up. It was a disaster, but I mostly avoided it. Lucky for me, the Pepsi section was not blocked off by the Cluster F, and I kept working. As I'm finishing up and preparing to fill the coolers, I hear him yelling for me, "Hey Pepsi guy, I need you to clean up your flats, they're blocking our pallets." I figured that maybe some had been misplaced and were in the way, so I go over to where he's standing. What I see before me is a mass of scattered 2-liter flats blocking the entire loading dock. In their mad dash to unload the truck in Sergeant Manager's newly instituted method, someone had collided with a huge stack of flats waiting to be taken to the bottling facility. But there isn't a Pepsi flat in sight. They're all Coke and Sundrop. "Sorry, man, those aren't Pepsi flats, but if any of our stuff is in your way, I'll be happy to move it," I told him politely. I could see him get visibly frustrated, and he then stated in a forceful tone, "I am the manager here, and you will do as I say." "Sorry, but I work for Pepsi, not Walmart. If you've got any problems with Pepsi items, I'll gladly deal with it. But I'm not going to clean up for our competitors." He wasn't thrilled with my reply and began to threaten to call my supervisor, the grocery manager, store manager, and so on. I held firm, And finally, he stormed off after saying that when I was in his store, I worked for him. I went to the grocery manager and told him what happened, then called my supervisor to fill him in. After I finished the coolers, I saw the grocery manager in the back with Sergeant Manager, who was not happy. One of the store employees was picking up the Coke and Sundrop flats. He never apologized to me, but basically ignored me after that incident. The guy ended up being fired or moved to another area or store about a month later. In that month, he drove the best stockroom employee and two of his best coworkers to quit, and continued to try and treat Walmart like the USMC. That was the only time I've ever been confused for an employee by a manager. Now I work in an entirely different industry, but I still like to tell this story from time to time. Edit. When I say flats in the story, I'm referring to the plastic crates that drinks are shipped in. There are different types depending on the actual product, like 16-ounce bottles or 2-liter bottles. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.